Today I'll be making another Lord of the Mysteries video, which is a tier list as you can see. It's a tier list on which pathways you, if you were to be transmigrated into the Lord of Mysteries world, would have a chance of becoming a god in. Now, obviously, we all know we're not surviving Lord of Mysteries. We would probably die before we even make a Beyonder. But assuming, now there are a few rules, such as you will be backed by an official organization, much like how Klein was in the first season. No unorthodox organizations, no evil gods, none of that stuff, just orthodox organizations. Secondly, the time period that you're transmigrated to is the start of the first book. And obviously, the official organizations in question does not involve the Tarot Club or the Church of the Fool or anything like that. They didn't exist at the time. We've got the Abyss pathway. There you go. The Chained pathway, the Moon pathway, and the Mother pathway. So the reason I have these four here is that firstly, the Mother pathway is obviously the lowest in this, as you can see. It's a pathway ruled over by the Mother Goddess of Gravity, as we all know, along with the Moon pathway. And starting at sequence 4, the danger of you falling under her control in both of these pathways increases massively. So there's that problem. Secondly, there is already a sequence 0 for the Mother pathway, so it's straight up impossible for you to become a sequence 0 in the first place. The highest you can reach is sequence 2, but the problem there is that the Mother pathway's advancement rituals are kind of whack. Firstly, the sequence 4 ritual requires you to create a Philosopher's Stone, essentially, but the requirement to create that Philosopher's Stone is that you need a large amount of life force, which obviously would come from other people, so you would have to kill a fair few people. The sequence 3 ritual requires you to see the life of a sequence 3 from either the Death, Darkness, or Twilight Giant pathways, all the way from birth to death. Or if you happen to be lucky enough to see the death of a sequence 2 of these pathways or sequence 1, then you can skip the watching. Then the sequence 2 ritual requires you to create an entirely new race, reproduce it, and nurture it. The sequence 1 ritual requires you to create a concealed world, essentially, that is completely conceptual in nature, envelop that world, and use it to enter the astral world, then drink the potion in the astral world. Now, obviously, this is impossible to do because there's already a sequence 0, but while you're at it, let me go over the apotheosis ritual. The apotheosis ritual requires you to birth a true god, not in a philosophical sense or something like that, but an actual true god. Now, sure, awakening a uniqueness, giving a uniqueness life can also be barely considered as birthing a true god. But how many times has that happened in the show? Then we've got the Moon pathway. The Moon pathway in the lower to mid sequences, sequence 9 through 5 is great in my opinion. It has the easiest sequence 5 ritual in my opinion. But the problem is that firstly, the Beyonder characteristics of this pathway are all controlled by the artificial vampires and the sanguines. The sequence 4 ritual requires you to come into contact with the moon, which obviously can be extremely dangerous, as we all know. And then the sequence 3 ritual. If you fail the sequence 3 ritual, like it requires you to go into the spirit world and choose certain information about your past, present, and future related to the moon, and use that in the ritual. But if you choose the wrong piece of information, you will become a slave to the moon. The sequence 2 ritual literally requires you to essentially hack yourself up and then seal yourself and then drink the potion in that hacked up near death sealed state. The sequence 1 ritual requires you to be sealed underground for at least 300 years while a paper moon figurine of yours walks the earth in your place. As for the apotheosis ritual, well, it's straight up impossible. The apotheosis ritual requires you to form enough of a connection, gain control of the concept of the moon in the astral world, or carve your true name into the conceptual moon in the astral world. Except that that moon is controlled by the Mother Goddess and the brood hive. So if you try to do that, you will be corrupted. Hence why there has never been a sequence 0 of this pathway. Other than that, sequence 2 of the Mother pathway, Desolate Matriarch, and sequence 1 of the Moon pathway, Beauty Goddess, turn you into a woman. So if you don't want that, obviously it's kind of bad. Then we've got the chained pathway. The reason I've got the chained pathway below the abyss pathway is that, well, you'll get affected by mTOD in both of these, except that the chained pathway King of Angels got corrupted by the Mother Tree of Desires into essentially becoming a mindless puppet. The sequence 5 ritual requires you to go into the spirit world, which is dangerous, as we all know. The sequence 4 ritual literally requires you to find the body of a demigod of the chained pathway, which has been mummified, and then take over that body and drink the potion in that body. Really specific and difficult to do. The sequence 3 ritual literally just requires you to create a card, so I guess that's fine. The sequence 2 ritual is very specific, much like the sequence 4 ritual. It requires you to find an evil object which can contain angelic powers. The sequence 1 ritual requires a deity or an activated uniqueness to give you a blessing, but this blessing is not just something like what Klein got or just some verbal blessing. If they give you that blessing, they will take an attack essentially from the symbolism source of all curses, which will, well, curse them in a way that can even kill a sequence 0. So they are putting their life on the line for your advancement. How many true gods are willing to do that? Then the apotheosis ritual literally just requires you to kill yourself. I don't even think the rest of it matters. The abyss pathway, there's a sequence 0 already called Farbauti, the dark side of the universe. The rituals are kind of whack, starting at sequence 4. You will get hunted down by official beyonders. If you go down this pathway, you'll become a serial killer, you'll become cold-blooded, heartless. The chances of losing control on this pathway are really high. The only reason I'm putting this pathway at the highest of this is because this pathway actually has a sequence 0. And sure, the mother pathway also has a sequence 0, but the M god is just much harder to deal with than M Todd is, in my opinion. So there are going to be a few controversial ones in here. Okay, so I know this entire tier is just, what the fuck did he just do? I know you just said that, because I kind of thought that to myself, but then I looked at these pathways individually, and this is all correct. Let me explain. Firstly, the Hangman pathway. I think this is probably the most understandable one out of these, right? There's the true creator at the top. He's straight up just stated to be the most evil god. I mean, if there's a guy who's literally called the dark side of the universe and you're more evil than him, honestly, props to you, motherfucker. I don't know how you managed to do that. Other than that, the sequence 8 of this pathway is probably the most dangerous in the entire show. But if you manage to get through that, you become really strong. Starting at sequence 6, you start to become extremely strong and extremely versatile. Sequence 5 is the most versatile and strong in the pathway. And similarly, demigod level onwards, you would normally be stronger than any other demigod at a similar level. So a sequence 4 Black Knight would normally be stronger than, let's say, a sequence 4 without a sorcerer or parasite or prophet in terms of combat ability. The problem I have is that obviously, first of all, there's an evil god at the top, so sequence 0 position is taken. Also, starting at sequence 4, the advancement rituals become extremely hard. The sequence 4 ritual requires you to corrupt 10,000 people without using any violence. Now you might think, oh, that's not that bad. 10,000 people. You think no one's gonna realize that you corrupted 10,000 people? Right? Not to mention, if you're not the part of the Aurora Order, which you aren't, because obviously according to the rules you're the part of an Orthodox organization, the Aurora Order will hunt you down if you go down this pathway. So now you've got not only Orthodox organizations on your ass, you've got the Aurora Order on your ass. You're fucked from both sides. The sequence 3 ritual requires you to cause a personality split. But here's the problem. If one of your abilities or anything has already caused a personality split in you, for any reason whatsoever, if you try to reach sequence 3, you will immediately lose control. The sequence 2 ritual requires you to separate your shadow, beat it, and then make a domain in the shadow world. Now, this is honestly probably easier than the sequence 4 rituals in terms of, like, the sequence 3 ritual literally requires you to split yourself. The sequence 4 ritual, I think you get the point I'm trying to make. The sequence 1 ritual requires you to look at the eternal blazing sun, essentially. You need to look at the concept of the sun in the sky and withstand essentially flying into it like Icarus for 15 minutes. The concept of the sun in the sky is the eternal blazing sun. You need to fly into the true god, whose entire purpose is fucking killing you. The apotheosis ritual requires you to get corrupted by the Chaos Sea, but obviously is not even in consideration because you can't even become a sequence 1. due to there already being a sequence 0. And lastly, the Hanged Man pathway is the easiest to lose control in, even more so than the Abyss pathway. Moving on to the food. Starting from sequence 9 through 5, the low and mid sequence abilities of the Moon pathway are mid at best. People try to rank the food pathway so much, like, oh, you get a bit of everything, you get marionettes, you get faceless, you're really versatile. Are you? Sure, you can change your face, but congratulations, like what do you want? Your physical enhancements aren't really all that good. You've got some divination and ritualistic magic, and you've got some like magician abilities. But other than that, what do you have? Are you really that versatile? All you have is some fire-based abilities, some substitution, and marionettes, which are not easy to make at sequence 5, mind you. Not to mention, if you're not the part of the Church of the Evernight Goddess, you need to enter a battlefield where gods fought to complete the sequence 5 ritual of this pathway. You're just not doing that. Then moving on to the sequence 4 ritual, you need to kill a demigod and get feedback from the spectators who saw you kill the demigod. Then the sequence 3 ritual. Let's just assume that you got transmigrated the same way Klein did. So let's just say you've already completed the ritual. Right? Sure, fine, the sequence 3 ritual is perfect for you. It's handcrafted for you. You've only got the sequence 2 ritual to worry about, which requires you to enter the Forsaken Land of the Gods. Once again, good luck trying to do that. Not to mention there's Klein. Obviously, you need to worry about Klein. You need to worry about Amon. You need to worry about Adam. And you need to somehow find a way to break the City of Silver out of the Forsaken Land of the Gods, which is anything but easy to do. There's the sequence 1 ritual, which is not hard, but it is extremely time consuming. And once again, we already saw what happened in the web novel itself with Amon going after Kotar when he started his sequence 1 ritual. So yeah, you also need to take that into account. You will attract Adam and Amon's attention while you try to reach Tender Mysteries, not to mention there's Zara too. And obviously starting at sequence 2, the Celestial Worthy will awaken inside of you, so the sequence 0 ritual requires you to fool time, fate, or history. Right? I saw Klein do that and I still don't know how the fuck he did it. Then you've got the error pathway. The reason the error pathway is above the full pathway here is because low and mid sequences, the error pathways are subjectively better than the full pathways. People really need to stop using Klein as the benchmark for what a full pathway beyonder is. He's not. Klein had a lot of unfair advantages. I'm not saying that Klein is not smart. I'm just saying that the Grey Fog boosted Klein's abilities massively. Right, let's not forget that at sequence 6, Klein's spiritual perception was high enough that he could sense Bernadette on Catlia's ship, after which Bernadette straight up just says that even sequence 5 of Klein's pathway would not be able to sense her, which would then imply that the Grey Fog was boosting Klein's spiritual perception as a sequence 6 to the level of a sequence 4 Bizarre Sorcerer. Alright, not to mention, even if Klein didn't have that, you and me, we aren't Klein. We're the fucking fraud sequence 7 clown that Klein killed at sequence 9. Other than that, the error pathway, sequence 9 through 7, you get some physical enhancements, you get some good like detective reasoning with a cryptologist. Sequence 6 makes your theft undergo a conceptualization with which you can steal 1 beyond power from your opponent. Sequence 5's ritual is not bad, it's kind of easy actually. It just makes your theft stronger. You can steal people's thoughts and intentions. You can even make charms and like use spells from other fields by using the theft of the secrets of heaven. Then the sequence 4 ritual is once again not that hard, and the abilities you get as a parasite are honestly probably comparable to a Bizarre Sorcerer in strength, because once again, let's not use Klein as the benchmark here. If we remember the fight between Flora Jacob and Klein, when Flora stole powers from Klein's marionettes, if Klein was a normal Bizarre Sorcerer, he would have lost those abilities from his main body. The only reason Klein didn't lose those abilities is because of the Separatasm. Obviously, they can use Theft of Life, they can make you into avatars. Now granted, it's not easy to make avatars at sequence 4, but they can. The sequence 3 ritual once again is not really hard, it's just kind of evil, honestly speaking. And the abilities of a sequence 3, once again, in my opinion, are comparable to a scholar of yore. They get one of the most broken authorities in the show, which is the authority of deceit. They get this persuasiveness which just makes people want to believe them, even other demigods. They can fool the laws of nature itself. The sequence 2 ritual is not exactly difficult, just evil. And obviously, we all know how strong a Trojan horse of destiny is. We've seen what Amon can do. The sequence 1, Worm of Time, once again, not exactly a difficult ritual, just the characteristics are really just not available, honestly speaking. Other than that, if you try to become a sequence 1. Firstly, the chances of you even reaching sequence 2 with Amon on the pathway and him taking notice of you once you reach sequence 4 is very low. And the apotheosis ritual is just ridiculous. You need to steal someone else's position during their apotheosis ritual. And now, my most hated pathway in the show, White Tower. Sequence 9 through 7. They're fine, you get some ritualistic magic, divination, etc. Pretty much like the sequence 9 through 7 of the Fool or Error, those mystical pathways, right? You're kind of good at fighting but not really suited to it. Then you've got sequence 6, which is where this pathway starts to get good, called Polymath, which lets you copy other people's beyonder abilities. Up to 50% in strength at sequence 6, and then that slowly increases up to 100% at sequence 1, Omniscient Eye. Sequence 5 is not that bad in terms of the ritual. I mean, the ritual is not that hard, right? You can read sequence 5 and be chilling. My problem starts from sequence 4. For the sequence 4 ritual, you need to enter the spirit world, which is not easy to do. But let's assume that because you're in an organization, you get help from a demigod or something, and you do it. Even then, the ritual is kind of time consuming because you need to see a prophecy that you found in the spirit world come true about yourself. Then the sequence 3 ritual is extremely difficult because you need to find the beyonder characteristic or the remains of a sequence 2 sage or knowledge magister and consume at least 1/3 of the knowledge that they had. Now, this can be changed with a sealed artifact or a blessing from a sage or a knowledge magister, but those aren't exactly easy to come around either. Once again, like I said, heavily specific, and in that way it's hard. Then we've got sequence 2 ritual, which requires you to kill an angel as a sequence 3 using wisdom, not brawn. Then you've got the sequence 1 ritual, which is impossible to reach because there is a sequence 0, but assuming. The sequence 1 ritual requires you to enter a state where you're already half mad, essentially. You need to get corrupted from things like the Chaos Sea or the Primordial Demoness. Like, that's the kind of corruption we're saying you need to endure. And then in that situation, while you're enduring that corruption, you need to drink the potion. And then we've got the apotheosis ritual, which is that you need fight and survive an incident involving above the sequences as a sequence 1 or a king of angels. This was originally going to be a singular video, but well, I apparently like talking too much. So I'm going to cut this video down into 2 parts, with this being the first part, and then I'm going to release the second part this week. So I guess subscribe if you want to watch that.